This crumpled up piece of paper is almost impossible to draw unless you understand light logic. My name is Daniel. I'm the owner and founder of the Raminfard School of Arts. I'd like to welcome you to the channel. I've been an artist now for 40 years. I've had my art school for 25 years, and I aim to learn with you guys the basic principles of drawing and painting. As both an artist and teacher, I cannot stress enough how important it is to truly understand light logic. And that's what we're going to talk about in drawing this. The problem is everybody gets caught up with the details, and that, I think, is the biggest mistake of all. It's truly understanding the underlying form, which basically is a ball, and how the light affects that shape. I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you're encouraged to draw your own crumpled up piece of paper and get a better understanding of how to draw this complex shape using basic form, value, and edges. Let's get into it. Okay, so materials. We have a number of things here that we're going to use today. Essentially, I'm going to start off with vine charcoal. So this is just your standard vine charcoal, nice and soft. A 2B compressed charcoal pencil made by General. Great pencil here. This is the Primo white chalk pencil, which is fantastic for highlights. I'm going to use some blending stumps, and you can clean this, by the way, just using a little bit of sandpaper. I've got a kneaded eraser. This one's by Faber-Castell. I've got a chamois for blending, and then I've got paper. So in terms of paper, what I'm using, this is really thick, very heavy drawing paper that Strathmore makes. It's their multimedia version, which I really like. We use this a lot in the studio, and it comes in 3 different kinds. So this is tan tone, gray tone, blue. Charcoal tends to read pretty cold, so I feel like charcoal against a cold surface, it could work. All right, let's do this. Okay, so starting off with the ball, I'm starting with this vine charcoal here, and we're gonna start with a nice clean circle, nice and loose. And I also want you guys to notice my grip. I've got it pinched as if I'm holding a mic or an ice cream cone, and I'm wrapping my fingers around to allow for my shoulder to do the work. This is known as an overhand grip, a drafter's grip. So that allows for my shoulder to do the work. Then later, when it gets into detail, I can switch over to a writer's grip, which you're all familiar with. Let's get an angle here. So what I'm looking for is apex to apex, where that line kind of goes across. It seems to roll right about here, about halfway at that angle. And then what you'll notice is that if there was smoke, you'd kind of see a line where the light cuts off, which indicates to me where that shadow lands down here. Just getting a nice, slow, steady progression of this. Shadow, shadow. I can use my fingers to start to darken. Piece of vine charcoal again, just to get an idea as to where that lines up, right? Shadow rolls across, and it definitely gets softer back here. And I also love how this edge gets lost here. It's really, really dark. To make sure that it's very clear that where the light is, I'm going to darken the background. And this is a trick that all the great masters used. This is a great tool, which is creating contrast via negativa, right? So creating this darker tone around the areas where there's light to really pull your eye in. So with the vine charcoal, it's going to be kind of a ghost image. It's going to keep everything nice and light and fluid. I can start to kind of add in some light, looking to see where it's lightest and bring that in. And I would say the brightest part, especially when I squint, is right about here. Now, my fingers are dirty except for this one. This one's clean. So this one, that'll allow me to blend a little bit. Let's now move in with the 2B pencil. 2B or not to be? That's the question, right? Really starting to build up tone, and notice how I creep up on the value. I don't want to jump in and get super dark super fast. That's a great way to ruin a piece, especially because we've already added that light, which is a good thing, right? And that light darkens the rest of the drawing, so we don't have to work as hard. So I'm very, very slowly building up my darks. My value gets softer. And here's the other reason why you don't want to get too dark too fast, because when you rub, right, you see that? That actually becomes a lot darker now. That smooth curvature all the way through. And the same thing on this side, right? Let's get a little darker here, right? And we lost our shape a little bit, but that's okay. That's what this is for. Alrighty, let's get it even darker. Some of this dark overlaps, especially when I squint. That edge is completely lost. And I feel like a lot of artists are very afraid of that. Oh, if I lose my edge, then I'll lose the form. But that's not true. An implied shape is a shape. So don't be afraid of that. Let's get just a little bit more value. I'm pressing pretty hard. You can see the board move. because I really want this to blend in. This part reads a little heavy. So what I'm going to do is instead of wiping it, I'm going to remove some of that value there. Really build up right about there. Coming in with the blending stump and really tightening up. We need to separate the shadow from the ball. Just make sure that our light reads well, right? So I'm making sure that it's clean, blend it in, softening it up, and we'll add just a little bit more punch right there. So let's talk a little bit about value. So there's an entire range here, and this is a 10 scale value range, right? I like to break it down into 6, and I'll explain why later. Looking at this, we've got 10 being the lightest, 1 being the darkest. And I would say you've got a 1 right here, probably a 2 right here. If I look at it one more time, it might actually be a little darker right there. So I'm gonna change my opinion. That's a 1. You've got a 2 right here. Then it kind of jumps, right? You might argue that there's a 3 right about there. 5 and 6, right? So 5 right about here, that's a 5, that's a 5. About a 2 right here. By the time you get here, you're looking at probably a 5 again, right at the edge. And then in this area, you're looking at something closer to a 9. So I'd say 9 here, 9 here. And of course the highlight, that's 10. So I have this incredible range of values, but notice that I can pretty much lock everything in into 1 and 2, 5 and 6, 9 and 10. And that's the way I like to work. So I don't really think in terms of numbers. I don't really think in terms of values per se. I actually think in terms of my lights, my mediums, my darks. So if I make like a mini version of this up here, and I redraw what I drew, something along these lines, here are my darks. The paper itself is pretty much my medium, and here's my lights. So that's 3 values now. But notice how close I am to what I'm actually trying to draw. Now the softer I make those edges, the cleaner it's gonna look, and the rounder the form is gonna look. I'll even come up with a dark right here, and then come in maybe even a little heavier here. But again, just keeping the edges soft. So again, the way I think is, here are my darks, there's my mediums, and this right here are my lights. That breakdown is going to be the most helpful in my opinion in terms of what we're about to do, which is drawing the crumpled piece of paper. Let's now talk a little bit about light logic itself. So we have this ball again, our shadow, which kind of flows through, and that's known as our cast shadow. It's when the object actually casts something, right? So we have shadow here, which we originally grouped as 1. But let's now talk a little bit about labeling everything, right? So we have a highlight that lands right here, which is the lightest color. So that we're gonna call our highlight. Then we have an area where we actually have low lights. They're lights, but they're nowhere nearly as bright. So these are our low lights. Then we have right here what's known as a midtone, MT. And our midtones are what basically land in this area. Then getting into our shadows, there is a line right here where it suddenly changes from the midtone into a dark. We call that the termination line, or the Terminator, right? And this is very frequently observed whenever you have direct lighting from a single source of light. So our light is coming through this way, which means our shadows are placed on the opposite side. When we get down into this area, this is known as form shadow. This right here is known as cast shadow. And every now and then, maybe let's say somewhere here, I can barely see it. But that part just gets a little bit lighter, just by a little bit. That's known as reflective light. So that reflective light is because the light is literally bouncing off of the table and just giving you a very small highlight. A lot of artists in portrait painting will exaggerate the reflective light, which helps to really render form, give you an opportunity to add a cool against a warm or a warm against a cool. It's a very cool effect. So the reflective light aspect is important. But basically it's the light flowing across, and that's really what light logic is understanding the pattern of light going across an object. So we're gonna apply all of this to our crumpled piece of paper. So right about now, you may be thinking, what did I get myself involved in? This is crazy, it's overwhelming, so on and so forth, and I get it. I felt the same way when I learned how to draw. My students feel the same way, and we push them through it. So it's important that you push yourself through it, especially for those of you who are learning all of this at home. My top piece of advice is that the same way that the old masters would draw their drapery, paint drapery, and really learn from all of that, it wasn't because they were seeing something that you're not seeing. It was because they just had better grouping skills. They understood how to put their darks in one group, their mediums in one group, and their lights in another. All right, so let's get our crumpled piece of paper going. I think the first thing to do is just outline what I'm seeing here. It definitely sits on a ball, but there's certain lines in here, really clean lines that we can get in there. And if you're uncertain, you could definitely switch over to the vine charcoal, right? Because the vine charcoal is really easy to remove and erase and move around, whereas this is a little bit stronger, but I'm pretty sure about where things are landing here. And I don't need a perfect representation of what I'm seeing, but just an idea. My eyes are squinted, just getting in my initial lines, right, initially. And then I'm picking up a little bit of value going across here. And the majority of light is here. So the whole process became that much more easier, just understanding my light logic. And I know that this is cylindrical, or I should say elliptical in form, right? It might be a little long. So then I have some darker tones here. Again, it reads pretty dark here. You see how unconcerned I am with getting this exact? Not up front. I can slowly build into it. Definitely pull stuff out where I see a little bit of light. And what I want is the same way that there's a high concentration here, I need to make sure there's a high concentration here. What'll mess you up is that you think you're seeing a very bright color, but when you compare this area to this area, it's nowhere nearly as light. Same thing here, right? This isn't nearly as light. Yes, there's light in there, but it doesn't need to be as bright as what I'm seeing up here, which is super bright, super light. And essentially, I'm doing exactly what we talked about earlier. I'm grouping it. And what I'm really drawing is my lights, my mediums, and my dark. Again, loosely indicating where there's shadow. So I have my lights, I've got my mediums, pushing my dark. Where else is it nice and dark here? Let's darken up my background. Using my blending stump, I'll actually use the darker side. You can see the board moving because I'm putting so much pressure in here. Right, I really want it to blend in with the paper. I'm losing a little bit of this effect right over here, so I'm gonna erase that out. Right, the more I push that concept of that dark flowing into light, the more rounder the object becomes. So now with my eyes squinted, I can start to come in with some detail here. And it's really the shadows that do most of the work. There's some really subtle, this is where you can really start to dig into like the subtleties. Some really clean, crisp edges too. You don't want it all to be super crisp. Then it becomes almost hard to look at. But there are certain parts that are really strong, really definitive in terms of the edge. And I don't see this as being any different than a fabric study, except this is just easier to set up. Ooh, great line of termination right here. Right here. It kind of rolls across and it's a little darker. And then there's some reflective light that lands right in this space. Same thing here. Some reflective tone. And even a little bit of light sitting right up top here. Some light right here. It's just coming in ever so subtly. Okay, let's do some edge work. So as a reminder for many of you, the idea is to work through 3 stages, right? Shapes. And when I talk about shapes, I mean circles, triangles, and squares, right? Looking for the most geometric basic shapes that I can. Then values, which is a lot of the work that we've done here, and then edges. And I usually walk through these basic steps to create my drawings. Paintings as well. Just trying to work through all the subtleties here. And I don't want you guys to get too caught up in detail. I just want you to focus on your core shapes, your values, and your edges. Really thinking about light logic and what it means to divide everything up into lights, mediums, and darks. There's a little bit more reflective light in here. It's just super subtle. Squinting my eyes to see if it groups well, right? It's kind of my mediums, not my lights. Just because it's called a reflective light doesn't mean that it needs to be light. I also noticed like going across here, there's a little bit more light. So for the purposes of a demo, I feel like that's a good place for me to stop. If I really wanted to turn this into something a little more refined, I definitely would spend probably another hour refining it. But I don't see much benefit to having you guys watch me fine tune it. The core thing that I want you guys to learn is really how to identify those groupings. So I really suggest you practice this stuff at home and do it often and try it with different objects. Try it with a pear, try it with a crumpled up piece of paper, try it with a book, a tea kettle, whatever you can find around the house. Just put it in front of you and start drawing it. Not every drawing is meant as a representation of who we are as artists and so on and so forth. Some are just for practice, such as this. I mean, this isn't something I would display as a final piece of artwork, although I do like it, but it's not something I would intentionally paint as an artistic statement. Just trying to get a better understanding of my lights and my darks. Let's actually add a little dark right here. I think that's about it. There's my lights. Right there are my mediums. Here are my darks. And the more you learn to identify those, the better it's gonna work out for you. I'll give it just one more layer of value right there. Maybe just a little darker right up here. And that's it. I think the main thing that students learn by the time they get to the end of a drawing like this is that this is not as complicated as one would think, as long as they pull back and draw globally and not focus too much on the local details. I want you to think of this crumpled up ball as a solid mass and a solid form with various facets. And when you really look at it that way, it helps you to understand what you're actually drawing. Make sure that you're focusing on your three major groups. Make sure that you understand where your light's coming from and where your shadows land, and to keep them as directional as possible. I have confidence in you guys that you're going to do great, and I'll see you guys in the next video.